If you've been trying to lose fat and tone up, but nothing seems to work, it's not your effort, it's your habits. In this video, I'll share 10 tiny habits that made me fit. These habits took my body from this to this and could do the same for you too. So let's get into it. And make sure to watch this video till the end to not miss anything important that could transform your body completely. Let's start with the first tiny habit to get fit. And this one is my favorite one if you want to lose fat and tone up without restriction or burnout. I don't know about you, but I always used to before eat oatmeal for breakfast. But often I run to the problem that after about an hour, I would get super hungry again, like really hungry, until I discovered a balanced breakfast. Not just a protein breakfast, but a balanced breakfast. Here's the thing, you've probably heard a million times by now to eat a protein-rich breakfast, but that advice is half true. When people say eat protein-rich breakfast, what they actually mean is making sure that you're not skipping on protein, because the traditional breakfasts, such as cereals, oatmeal, and toast, are mostly carbs. But the fact is that if you're gonna eat protein alone for breakfast, let's say eggs, you're still gonna end up hungry pretty soon. So the goal isn't only protein-rich breakfast, the goal is a balanced breakfast consisting of protein, fats, and fiber-rich carbs. Together, they keep your hormones happy, your metabolism strong, and your body in that naturally fat-burning mode all day. And what is more is that with balanced breakfast, you train your body to efficiently use both fats and carbs for fuel throughout the day, which is super important for metabolic health. Not cutting things out, but teaching your body to switch between carbs and fats. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. You know when you visit someone's birthday, but you didn't have the time to eat before. So you sit down and now they offer you a cake, but you're hungry. Now, obviously, in that occasion, you probably have that piece of cake, but ideally, you should avoid eating desserts on an empty stomach. Here's why. Eating sugary foods on an empty stomach causes faster and sharper blood sugar spike, and then followed by a crash. But that crash can make you feel hungry, tired, moody, and cause you more likely to overeat later or crave more sugar. Such blood sugar fluctuations frequently can make fat loss quite hard because your body is constantly in that fat storage mode. So if you're gonna have something sweet, which you absolutely can, try to have it after a balanced meal. It's not that the eating desserts itself stops fat loss, but rather how you time it. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. And this one might be what's holding you back from your dream results. You know the feeling when you're trying to go for a run, but you really can get yourself off that comfortable couch. Staying on that couch, scrolling or watching Netflix just feels much more comforting, right? I know that feeling very well. But here's the problem. I had this idea that a workout, especially if you're trying to lose fat and get those visible abs, always needs to be hard. Like really each time you need to be pushing yourself hard to the limit, sweating and crying. And exactly this mindset was the issue why I couldn't get results for so long. What ended up happening is that of course I skipped those workouts because I didn't have the energy, motivation, or even desire to push myself that hard each time. Of course I'd rather watch Netflix, and you too. So here's a better approach that will actually get you real results. Drop the hard is effective belief. Stop thinking that losing fat or getting into your dream shape has to be hard, because it doesn't. This work hard mindset lifts your barrier to work out so high that obviously you're gonna skip it. This mindset sets you for failure already from the get-go. Losing fat can be chill and fun too. In fact, once I stopped thinking that working out has to be hard, working out became really easy. Ironically, I've never been in a better shape with less pain and struggle because I made it really easy for myself in my head. I don't think anymore that I have to go for a 10-kilometer run to see results or feel like I did a proper workout. So instead of saying to yourself that, oh, I need to go for that awful 10-kilometer run, try saying to yourself, oh, I'll go for a 10-minute run. Or just a walk, and who knows, maybe you'll find yourself running for a mile. Everyone wants to get fit, but many also quit because they think it has to be hard or unenjoyable. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. In addition to this work hard mindset, I also used to work out in a way that any fitness person would. Going to the gym, running heat. But it wasn't necessarily as enjoyable for me as something else could have been. For example, I used to think that home workouts or Pilates aren't effective enough to get results. I literally feared to work out in any other way than gym, heat, or running because I thought I'd get fat. It even went so far that I even stopped dancing, which FYI I love, because I thought that gym and running is better for fat loss. If I would see myself, my old version, then I would slap myself. Like, have you seen dancers and their bodies? Anyway, I'd literally choose to work out in a way that fitness industry has labeled as the most effective way to work out to lose fat. It's going to get you better results, no matter what the science says. Something that is forced or something that you actually enjoy doing. And this applies to everything. Life, fitness, career. Obviously, the thing you enjoy doing the most is going to get you the best results in anything. So the fourth tiny habit is to switch your internal talk from I have to, I get to. Again, working out doesn't have to feel like suffering or forced. It can be fun and it can feel like play, and you'll be much more successful at getting results and keeping them too. Because the second you stop forcing your body starts responding. Nowadays, I just do Pilates and home workouts at home. I go for walks, I take dance classes, all the things that I find fun, I like, and I enjoy doing. Do you think I nowadays ever skip workouts for the reason that I don't feel like it? Quite the opposite. I can't wait for them. Here's the thing, you have to understand that there is no one universally right or wrong way to lose fat and tone up. The best way, but also the most sustainable way, is to do what you enjoy. I mean, just compare this. Let's say you hate running, but you got this idea that the best way to lose fat is to go for a run. And you want to get into your dream shape, so you decide that you're gonna start running. But now, instead of happily picking up your running shoes and going for that nice run, every time when it's time to go for that run, you start procrastinating. Not again. It's cold, dark, rainy, windy, grey outside. And nah, I won't go. It's anyways late already. I'll go tomorrow. And the tomorrow comes and the same starts again. Whenever you have to force yourself to work out, it means that you're not enjoying it. Which means that you might find will and motivation to do it for a couple of weeks, but then you'll lose the drive because no normal person can do something they don't like willfully for free. So you're not a failure and you're also not a lazy person. You just might be doing workouts you hate. Speaking of lazy, this brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. And this one is probably the easiest and has the biggest impact too. What a nice combo, eh? Get lazy. Yes, I'm really telling you to get lazy. Here's the thing, we're so overstimulated all the time. We're constantly thinking, I gotta do something. I gotta be more productive, quicker, faster, harder. But this do more mentality might actually be sabotaging your fat loss results. Here's how. Women, and specifically our nervous system, thrives when there is not much stress in our lives. But constant hard workouts, such as heat, long aerobic workouts, heavy weightlifting sessions, are stressing our nervous system. But when your nervous system is dysregulated, it is quite hard to lose fat. Then we add our personal lives, relationships, and work to the equation, and if those are full of stress and chaos too, then it only deepens the problem. If you have that little belly button, or a muffin top as some people like to call it, and you cannot get rid of it no matter what you do, this is exactly why. So slowing down with your workouts, slowing down in your life, and taking few extra breaths can do such a big difference. Our bodies need that. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. When I was just at the start of my fitness journey, I would have never believed anyone who would have told me that I can actually get better results with doing less. I remember reading some research that low intensity workouts are more efficient at burning fat than high intensity workouts, and I refused to believe that, but I should have, because it's true, and the refusal of it was keeping me stuck with fat loss for years. Here's the thing, at lower intensities, your body primarily utilizes fat for fuel, but once the intensity goes up, it switches to carbs because your body prioritizes quicker and more efficient energy sources such as carbs. That's why they also market these low carb diets as the fat loss diet, because on a low carb diet, your carb storages are depleted and your body would utilize fat for fuel during high intensity workouts, but our bodies are not this simple as human logic. Low carb is only efficient in making you miserable. If you're a healthy person without diabetes or anything, you don't need to go low carb, you need to go low intensity. There's literally so-called fat burning zone, which is about 60 to 70% of your max heart rate, which translates into lower intensity. But there is a small nuance to this. Since low intensity is less physical, it burns less calories as the same amount of running in terms of kilometers or time. That's why ideally you need to do low intensity for longer than high intensity. And my favorite way to do this is daily walks. Literally, when I started doing walks instead of running, my body looked so snatched, I couldn't believe it that it was even possible. But as I said, we women thrive when we slow down. We lose fat, we become more beautiful, we literally start blooming. But with this being said, I need to mention this to not to confuse you. This what I just said doesn't mean that high intensities don't burn fat overall. The thing is that low intensity can be purely more efficient for fat loss because it's easier to sustain for longer. It puts less stress on our nervous system and it can be done daily without recovery issues. Whereas high intensity might burn more calories as a total, but it cannot be done daily without the risk of overtraining or stress-related weight gain because of cortisol. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. When I was in uni, I used to always grab myself a Cliff energy bar from supermarket as a quick snack. I loved them, especially the chocolate chip one, and honestly, I thought I was being healthy because they're marketed as a wholesome, good ingredients, organic, etc. But actually, it is pretty much a cookie in disguise. Although these bars might be organic, they're still quite high in added sugars and carbs, and they're quite calorie dense too. On top of that, they contain seed oils and have quite soy-heavy formulation, which can be inflammatory or even hormonally disruptive for some women. So here's the thing. This kind of energy bar might be okay for endurance athletes or as an occasional fuel before a long workout, but not for a uni student who sits whole day and goes to the gym for 1 hour. And this applies to protein bars too. They often have hidden calories, sweeteners, additives, that make them far less healthy than they appear. You don't need manufactured products to be fit. Instead, prioritize real food. Real food is enough to support healthy and balanced diet, and if you absolutely must have an occasional energy or protein bar, then ideally choose the cleanest option available. I noticed a big difference in bloating, energy levels, and body composition once I stopped eating energy and protein bars. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. Fat loss doesn't just happen in the gym. It happens when you sleep. So get enough sleep, and this habit to this day remains the most underrated one. But the truth is that if you're not sleeping enough, your body literally refuses to burn fat. And when you rest well, your hormones balance out, your metabolism runs smoothly, so your body literally gets the signal that, oh, it's safe to let go of fat. Proper sleep is probably one of the major reasons behind my body transformation. Even to this day, my body composition can fluctuate based on how much sleep I've gotten. If I don't get enough sleep, I will be more bloated. But not only that, I will also be more hungry and have more cravings because lack of sleep dysregulates hunger hormones. So it automatically becomes harder to control what and how much you eat if you don't sleep enough. So if you want to lose fat and tone up, don't just focus on doing more, focus on resting well too. That's when your body actually transforms. And by the way, for women, enough sleep isn't 8 hours, it's 9. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. If you love your morning cup of coffee, you need to hear this. Like many of you, I love my morning cup of coffee. But there used to be a time in my life where I used to think that my morning cup of coffee is making me fat. Specifically, the milk in it. Back in the days, I used to follow one influencer on Instagram, and she made a story that she drinks her morning coffee without milk because milk has too many calories and she's trying to lose fat, so she prefers to drink her morning coffee black. And of course, the old me, after seeing this, believed this, and I was like, oh my god, all my questions have been answered. It's the milk in my morning coffee that's making me fat. Yes, I know, idiotism has no limits. Here's the problem with black coffee in the morning. For many women, drinking black coffee, especially as the first thing on an empty stomach, can actually be worse than the few extra calories from the milk. Because when you're drinking black coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, can spike pretty high. But if your cortisol is high all the time already from the morning, it can be pretty hard to lose fat, like we already discussed in this video. Whereas when you add some milk into your morning coffee, it can slow down how quickly the caffeine hits your system, thus it can make you less stressed. So if you've been afraid of the milk in your morning coffee, don't be. You can perfectly add it there, it won't make you fat, unless you of course genuinely prefer to drink your coffee without milk. Which brings me to the next tiny habit to get fit. And this is probably the most important one. Our existence consists of many things, not only productive routines, healthy diets, and exercise. There is more. I used to be so focused on eating perfectly, hitting the gym 5 times a week, being productive, that I rarely made time for fun or friends. But sometimes having fun in life is exactly what you need, and honestly, especially in this focus on yourself and be productive era, we need it even more. Have more fun in life, see your friends, socialize, laugh, travel, pursue your dreams. and do more of the things that bring you joy. That's part of wholesome and healthy life too. When I started to have more fun in life, travel, pursue my dreams, see more of my friends, kind of do useless stuff, that's when fat loss became less obsessive and easier too. Because your body is a system that works together. If your emotional or social health is struggling, what is it gonna do to your physical health in the long run? Or vice versa. So it's not only about taking care of your physical health, but also mental and social too. But this is not all. Most people never reach their dream body, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because they're dieting wrong. So if you've been dieting, maybe even for years, without results, then you really need to see this video.